Shall we move on to the subjects then?
Yeah, so I think we need to put a few disclaimers out there as we approach this. We've both come up with a short list of 3 players who we think Liverpool should add maybe to enhance their chances of a title challenge next season.
Yeah, just for the new manager coming in.
However, obviously, this is very early to make a video like this, but we kind of want to be early. There's a lot of contingencies here where I think it depends on if Salah leaves or if some of the other big names leave and things like that. So this is just our list of players we think would improve the depth and add quality.
I think
Liverpool next year.
So my signings will work if Salah stays, I think. But I think we've both taken into account if Salah leaves, we should bring these players in.
We both firmly think that Salah's Liverpool career is over, just on the basis that I think they can cash in this season. There was interest last year, huge amounts of money being talked about, and it's the end of Klopp being at the club, so it sort of makes sense maybe for this to be the time that you make your money on him. Maybe we're wrong and he's there next season.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We've also obviously said that we do think if it is Arne Slot, we do think he either brings in a player from Feyenoord with him, or someone from that league that he likes.
Yeah, I think it's very likely. We saw Ten Hag do the same. I'm not saying that just because Ten Hag did it, he'll do it, but players like to bring a known in. If they've got a player that works under him, I think it's very likely they bring him in, especially if it's somebody that fits a vacancy or somewhere that needs depth for the new club.
So what we'll do, we'll say that player that we think he brings in, but what we're going to do, that's going to be the 4th player. So
we've not included him in the shortlist for 3.
No. So we'll do our top 3 transfers for Liverpool this summer, and it's basically based on Arne Slot because we think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we'll do... You don't have to say like a most likely one. We'll just do 1 to 3, yeah?
Okay.
So what positions are you filling first without saying the player?
Centre midfield, like a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, same.
A player that is quite fluid amongst the front 3, and a left back. I would say this guy is my front 3 is a Salah replacement, but I think you could play him anywhere on that front 3.
Okay, just because I think we might have the same player, let's go your defensive mid first, because I've got a defensive mid in there.
Yeah, so this one, if you've listened to the podcast before, you'll know who this player is.
So I know who it is now.
But what I would say, so the player is João Palhinha. I said Liverpool should have signed him last year. I'm not saying it was an easy deal to make happen, but for me, this guy's proven in the Prem. He's absolutely unbelievable. I think you can get him from Fulham because you're Liverpool. You know, I know Bayern Munich were knocking on the door for him.
Well, I'm pretty sure he was at Bayern Munich last season and it fell through, yeah.
So maybe this is a pipe dream and Bayern have already got this tied up. I don't know. But what I would say is I don't think it's a typical signing that Liverpool would make in... This guy's 28, and I think they probably want to bring someone youthful in. They did sign Endo quite cheap, and I know that he wasn't their end game solution. But I still think 28 for a player in that position, who's probably in his prime years, is... You still could get 4 or 5 seasons at a very high level out of him, and it gives you the time to look for someone else.
So I've done some research, and I agree with Palhinha. I've put Palhinha in as well.
Yeah.
I'd probably make him my top target because I think they need a ball-winning midfielder in there.
I think they needed... This is the signing they needed last year.
Yeah. So I agree with that and everything. And I do think Arne Slot does play like the 4-2-3-1 system, maybe a 4-3-3 if he needs to. But Palhinha probably playing in there with McAllister maybe is a good shout. And I think a ball-winning midfielder is a good shout as well. And I think Palhinha is like one of the best at that, especially in the Prem. So I agree with that one. Maybe... I don't know how long he's got on his contract, but maybe you can get him for around 40-50 mil. But
I'd love him at United.
Oh yeah,
you know, I'm saying I don't want Liverpool to sign him. I think he's the perfect Liverpool signing for that position.
Well, do you know when you say about the age, I don't think that matters to them because they've got Bajcetic coming through.
But you know, if they looked, obviously last year they tried to get Caicedo, they tried to get Lavia, both younger prospects in that sort of role. So I think in a perfect world they would want someone younger, but I don't think the options are there for him at the minute. Like you say, they've got Bajcetic coming through.
Is that how you say it?
I don't know. That's what I'm going with. Obviously, he had a big injury that put him out for a long period of time. But previously to that, he looked fantastic.
Liverpool fans definitely like him, and I think he's more of a defensive midfielder. So maybe I'd get the Palhinha deal. And
bit of experience. He's proven in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I'll be very shocked, actually, if we don't even see the rumours that Liverpool are in for him.
Yeah. Okay, number 2 then. Who's your number 2?
So I'll go with this one because this is a bit more exciting than my third pick. My third pick's the left-back pick, so I'll go with my exciting one now.
Okay.
This is in the vein that if Salah is gone, I think they should go for Kvaratskhelia from Napoli. I hope I've said that correctly.
Left winger though, right?
I think you can play him anywhere on that in that front three because I think he's good with both feet. And I think if you're going to let Salah go, you've got to bring somebody in. I know he's had a bit of a quieter season than everyone was talking about him when Napoli won the league, and he's been a bit quieter. But I think they have to bring in somebody with the potential to be one of the best in their position in the world, and I think he has the potential to be that.
So I've got a winger as well. I've got because I did my research and Arne Slot does the 4-2-3-1. I've got an attacking midfielder because I don't think you've got that. You've got potential, like maybe a Szoboszlai and stuff that could play there, but I think there's other players suited for that. But I'll go for that after because you've gone for the replacement for Salah. So I'll go for a right winger as well. And I don't think this will happen, but I think this is a good shout because it won't cost him that much either. I'm going Mbeumo.
I do think he's solid and I think he could add a lot. But I think if Salah is going, there has to be a marquee signing, and I don't think he's that. And I'm not saying that's no disrespect to him, and I think he could put up the numbers and do the job. And actually, if Klopp was the manager, I could see that being more feasible. With Arne Slot's an unknown for me. I think he's an unknown for a lot of Liverpool fans, to be honest, right now. Nobody's watching Feyenoord. No. And if anyone's claiming they are, that's a very, very small minority of
They've only just started.
Yeah, so, maybe they're checking him out now. But I think that it's not a big enough name for letting a Mo Salah go. And I know Mo Salah wasn't this huge name in European football before Liverpool. They don't bring big
names in, though.
But I think in this instance, it has to be. You're never going to replace Salah's goals. And I think you've at least got to bring somebody in that is huge potential. I think Kvaratskhelia 24, something like that. I might be wrong there.
The only thing with your target there is Napoli are a very hard club to deal with.
But that's why I see if you're bringing in 100 million plus for Salah, you're in a strong negotiation standpoint to bring him in. He's had a less impressive season this season than he did the season before. Everyone was talking about him before then. I'm not. I don't think this is that likely, but this is for me, this is the sort of player they need to go for.
Okay, so you've got Palhinha and Kvaratskhelia, however you say it.
Saying that right?
Yeah. And I've got Palhinha and Mbeumo. So who's that third player? So is this the left back?
Yeah. So I'm going on I don't think Tsimikas is good enough to start. I think Robertson's been absolutely fantastic for Liverpool. He got him on a ridiculously good fee, but I do think he's coming to the tail end of his career at the highest level. I still think he can deliver. I'm not knocking it at all, but I think contingency planning, they need to be bringing in a good player in this position. They've got Trent playing on the right. I would go for Pervis Estupiñán. I think he looks like one of the best fullbacks in an attacking sense in the Prem, and I don't think you'd have to pay Brighton an awful lot to bring him in. He's young. I think he'd be a good shout.
I like Estupiñán and the shout. The only reason why I probably say he wouldn't do that, just because this might be just recency bias, because I've just done a bit of research on Arne Slot, and what he does at the minute with Feyenoord is he has his right back, because the right back's quite capable. We've spoken about him before, haven't we? That right back. He has that right back going central into the midfield and maybe going a bit more forward, but the left back that he currently has, or the centre back or whatever, he makes a free at the back, so that left back comes in. I don't think Estupiñán fits that. And if he wants to come in and play that same way, maybe Trent plays that same right back role where he goes in midfield as well, so it makes more sense that way. That's the only objection I have for Estupiñán. But I do think Estupiñán is a great player.
I think if you bring in a strong central midfielder, he can play in a similar way but have both the fullbacks bombing on and have the midfielder drop into the.
You mean like
back
a
two.
Palhinha dropping in centre back?
Yeah, or he could play Palhinha in certain games. You could play Palhinha and Endo and have one dropping in with the centre backs and have both of you. But no, I don't know. I don't know how this guy plays. I'll never look into it. Despite the fact we have a football podcast, you're never catching me watching Eredivisie. It's the reason that I never knew who Erik ten Hag was, bar his stint in the Champions League. But I'm just thinking from a sheer standpoint that I think their left back position is getting weaker. We've seen enough of Tsimikas. I think he's good. He's a squad player. Is he a starter for Liverpool? Not for me. And I think Robertson is getting to that point where he could even leave this year. I don't think he will. But I think he's getting to, the end of his career at the highest level now.
So I do think Szoboszlai's got a lot of potential, and I do think maybe Szoboszlai could play the central attacking mid role if it does come available next season. But I've gone for them bringing a central attacking mid in, and I think he's absolutely phenomenal. And I said this player should go to Spurs, but now they've got Maddison, so I think that's off the table. So I think this player should be snapped up by Liverpool, and that's Eze.
Yeah, I can't picture him in a Liverpool shirt. It's crazy. I do think he'll be at a new club next season, 100%. I think we've seen how good he is for Palace for a couple of seasons now. But I can't see him playing for them next year. I do think he'll get a big move. Where it is, I don't know.
I saw Sky do something similar to this as well, and someone said Elise if they sell Salah, which I could probably see as well, but I just haven't put Elise in there because I didn't think Liverpool would go for two Palace best players that are injury prone. So yeah, I think Eze would be great there, to be fair.
I think he's got the pick of a lot of top clubs going into this next year. I think Liverpool could certainly get his signature if they want to play in such a way that they need him and they can use him. But I certainly think a lot of the big clubs, and not just in the Prem, but definitely the Premier League teams, because they've played against him and seen a lot more of him, he's going to be very, very highly wanted by clubs this season. But yeah, I think he'd be solid for Liverpool. I think it really does depend. I know we said it at the start of the video. It depends on who they let go. I mean, we're talking about Salah there. Is Van Dijk there next season? I think it's very likely, but you really never know. And they could
Van
lose
Dijk
some players
goes,
in
it
midfield.
changes, doesn't it? We're bringing a centre back in.
I'm not convinced that all of their forward players are going to be there next season. Not just Salah. There's been talks of Diaz having interest from other clubs.
Yeah.
Jota's been there a little while now. He's had his stints with injury. I think Gakpo's probably likely to be there because he's still a fresher signing.
Yeah.
And I think he's still got a lot to show, especially if potentially Núñez is going to be rotated a bit. Could Gakpo play as a number 9? I think he probably could do. I don't know if he, I'm not saying that's the answer, but I think they've got a lot of experiments there, but they've got a lot of players in that forward line.
Yeah, I had a think about this. I think they keep Diaz just for at least another season because I think Salah's going, so I don't think you can get rid of two wingers. Shall we say our player that we think he's going to
to be perfectly
bring
honest
with
you,
him?
I don't have a clue. I think if he brings someone through, I think it'll be a defensive player. But I don't know any players from this league, really.
You did shout and say it was that right bad, didn't you?
Because I've seen his name floated around on the internet, but I wouldn't profess that I think I would have predicted that he brings this guy in. It's sort of just everybody seems to be talking about it, so I think it's potentially quite likely.
Yeah, so this guy, I don't know much about him either, so this is just a spitball, but we did agree that when a player moves from this sort of league and that team, he kind of wants to bring someone that already knows his system.
Yeah, it's always a good start, and especially if he looks at the team and thinks they need depth or they need a different player there, they are more likely to... I mean, look at Ten Hag. He brought a load of players in from Ajax, and he brought Malacia in from Feyenoord. People, sort of don't agree that even works, but I think managers do that quite often.
So I've got Hanko, which is the defender for Feyenoord, and he's the guy that goes left back, centre back, and all that. So I think if you've got a centre back there or whatever, a defender there, should I say, that can play left back and centre back, and your left back's getting a bit thin, I think Hanko would be
Well, based on the way you've told me he's likely to play across the back line, that signing would be better than Estepinian, for example, despite the fact he looks like a very capable left back.
I'm not saying I know much about this.
But, you know, if that is the case and you're maybe having your right back in Trent bombing on a little bit and your left back stepping into a back three, someone who is left back stroke centre back is a better option.
Yeah.
Instead of an attacking left back. So that would be a lot more feasible of a signing at that point. And I could see that forming the basis of the way he wants to play. You know, you've got Alisson at the back. You're probably going to have Van Dijk, Canate, Trent maybe stepping in, and then this
Hanko,
in left back maybe stepping in when they're in possession going forward. So I think that's beyond feasible. But at the same time, I won't profess to know how they play. I've not really got much of an idea. If it was United that were bringing in a manager like this, I probably would have looked at it a bit more.
Yeah, but do you know when this sort of thing happens? I find it really interesting because it's the element of like you have no idea what's going to happen. But I like this sort of stuff because you're always guessing. And when you bring in players in the summer, I love it. I love the excitement of like a new player, even if it's a flop. Then, but I just love looking into it. I think it's quite an interesting topic, but we'll see.
But yeah, I think they will do business for sure. And I think if they do move on, Mo Salah, for example, or any other of the players from the Klopp regime, maybe are going to move on and they pull some money in, I think there will be a lot of movement for players in.
Yeah, I thought they didn't really have money until they make the Salah sale. But then looking back at it, they made a 100 mil bid for this Caicedo, didn't they?
They clearly had the money for it.
They clearly had the money. So if you're saying maybe 80 because Salah's on his last year, maybe get 80 for him instead. You've got 100 plus that 80 mil there. You got 180 mil potentially.
I think they'll have a lot of money to spend, but maybe they wanted it to die down a bit because they showed the cards a little bit in the last window where it was like, this is how much that they bid for Caicedo or Lavia and whatever. So clubs then are going to have your pants down when you potentially go in for alternative options because they know you've put that bid in. It happens to United a lot of the time.
Yeah.